Hello, hello! Today I will be bringing you an upcoming premium ship, the Molotov. It's a Soviet T6 cruiser that has been, honestly, really nice. Both fun to play and it really is quite strong. Now, let's start with the obvious things, or well, actually let's start with the obvious weaknesses. The AA on it is pretty pitiful. You're not gonna compete with the Cleveland or something amazing like that. The best AA on it is very short range, 2 kilometer range, and the longest, that's 3.5 kilometer range, has pitiful damage. So you're gonna struggle against, if a carrier focuses you, you can do okay if it's the same tier because they'll come close enough for your AA to actually be strong enough to maybe kill something, but you won't shoot down many planes and you won't be good at escorting any other ships. It's just not your fort. It's very weak. The turn radius on the ship is also quite pitiful. It's 860 meters, which is very bad. It's basically almost battleship tier turn rate. So that's obviously another weakness. The detection range is 12.7 kilometers, which is quite okay. With the captain I have, I think I got it down to like 11 point something. I can't remember. So, but even stock without the captain, it's quite nice. But then we get to the really nice part about this ship, these guns. First of all, you can see the angle of the firing angles are very nice, and the turret placement is two in the front, one in the back, which is very nice for playing offensive and basically angling your ship. So the angles are great, and the turret placement is great. But most importantly of all, when people talk about these guns, they think it's the Kirov guns because they're 180mm. They think, oh, they just took the Kirov guns and put them on T6. But it's not the Kirov guns, it's the Dmitry Donskoy, the T9 guns. So this ship is carrying goddamn rail guns from tier 9 onto this tier. And these rail guns, they hurt. You saw that, Svetlana? Double Citadel. These guns really hurt. I understand why they had to nerf the reload from 10 seconds to 12.5, because even with this reload, every 12.5 seconds, you're just dealing out this massive punishment. If you end up against tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 cruisers, it doesn't really matter. In this example, it's tier 4s, and you see just how brutal it is if you end up basically, if you have lucky matchmaking. Just very brutal. So the one thing where this ship is definitively not lacking is in firepower. When it comes to firepower, this thing is amazing. Now the range is 15.5. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. You can comfortably shoot a good 3 kilometers before you're spotted, so definitively shouldn't be an issue. And of course, if you got the captain perk, then you got even more leeway to be stealthier. The armor is decent. It's not as bad as the Kirov, but it's not that good. I mean, you have a sizable citadel if you do expose your broadside. So, but that's kind of been the staple of pretty much every Soviet cruiser. But this one, unlike most of the other basically pea shooters, the guns on this one is really beastly. Now, consumable wise or otherwise, I mean, you got a spotting plane. I don't really like spotting planes because I feel like my aim suffers when I try to use that spotting planes. I just can't land good shots with it. And honestly, I'd much rather take a fighter plane, but you can't change it, so you're stuck with it. And the torpedoes, you only have, God, I love these guns. You only have 3 torps per side, and they're only 4 kilometer range. But they pack a decent punch, and they do 65 knots. So if you get into that, you got a YOLO battleship situation, then they're quite okay. But even then, you gotta land all of them to actually make it work. But you see this against another T5 cruiser, it's just super brutal. It doesn't even feel fair, it literally feels like seal clubbing. So the gun power, of course I have the advantage that I'm a pretty good shot with cruisers, but these guns really are very nice. And I have a feeling that this will be quite a popular premium to pick up, because it does significantly better against the higher tiers than the Murmansk does. Because if you get matched up against the T7, T8, you can still wreck the cruisers with AP. Like Pensacola, you just melt it with AP. And against battleships, it's got decent HE as well, so you can set significant amount of fires as well. So this one scales up to higher tiers much better than the Murmansk does. And of course, it's a premium Soviet cruiser. You can spec it exactly like you would spec the cruiser line. So for training a captain and basically retraining captains between ships and such, this one is very, very nice. Like I just slapped my Soviet cruiser on it without having to respec or do anything, and it's just perfect for it. Or well, not exactly perfect, because it has superintendent instead of vigilance. Vigilance is better on lower tier cruiser, but it's pretty much as close to as good as you can get. So on this one, I don't see Wargaming having any issues selling the ship. See what this AOBA, when I get to the broadside, triple citadel, 16k volley. That's a T6. Of course, AOBAs have large citadels, and if you get to shoot at broadside, blah 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 blah. But you can see just how pinpoint accurate and powerful these guns are. You can just dish out this incredible amount of damage. Ah, someone stole the Kira. Would like to get that kill. I already have 2 kills, so I'm gonna avoid. But as I said, of course, armor, not the strongest. Sizable citadel. You can see how those smokestacks, huge smokestacks, and how far apart they are. That's a lot of citadel area hidden underneath, and it rides fairly high in the water as well. So this New Mexico, you can see his guns are just waiting for me to pop out around that corner. I'm not gonna do that. I'm definitely not gonna go anywhere near him, because as I've always said about any ship, you play it to your strengths. You're excellent at just sniping out other cruisers. Even setting fires to battleships you're good at, but you don't want to get into a close range scuffle with the battleship. You will melt very, very quickly. So obviously I'm going to avoid going anywhere near that waiting New Mexico, and instead I'm going to keep the rock or the island between me and him and just see if I can punish these cruisers some more. Keeping myself angled and just avoiding him. Oh, would have been nice to score that kill, but you can't get it all. So gonna see if these guys are gonna push up. I'm just slowing down. As you can see, I'm making sure I'm constantly keeping this island between me and New Mexico. I want nothing to do with him. He's full HP and he's just sitting there waiting for some unfortunate cruiser to show himself, and I'm not going to be that guy. Slowing down. Nothing's really spotting me right now. Popped up around the corner now so they can see me. You won't be stealth firing with this ship. Guns, it just doesn't really work because the range isn't enough. I mean, with the spotting plane you can probably stealth fire. I actually haven't tested it. I guess it's very possible. I think that's another reason why I'll probably do quite well in high tier, is simply you can pop the spotting plane and then just spam HE on some battleship pushing up towards you, like T8 battleships, like torpedoes as such, can melt them quite easily. So this ship scales very well towards against higher tiers, and of course it's got a small HP pool, but you shouldn't be taking too much damage to begin with. Just staying at long range and using these railguns to your advantage. Switch to HU, of course, since I'm shooting the New Mexico. See if I can get some damage on him. His guns, I think he's going for the Königsberg. Need to check his guns. Nope, he shot at me, angled. You saw I managed to bounce the shell by angling towards him. So if you're angled, then the armor is pretty fine. But being caught with any sort of broadside showing with this ship is very, very punishing, and you should avoid it at all costs. Another fire, and you see the HE damage is quite okay, considering I'm shooting a New Mexico, which is significantly armored. Let's see if is that CV going for me. I switched to AP because, of course, I saw the AOBA earlier on my right. Gonna see if I can find him. Getting New Mexico repaired. Shooting AP this time. It's Russian AP, so might still do decent damage, but he's angled. Didn't pen. It was more of a for the sake of shooting anything else. Switch back to HE, see if I can get a fire on him, since he obviously repaired my previous fire. And now switch to AP again, since the Omaha is going to pop around the corner, hopefully. I'm hoping for him to pop around the corner, because Omaha, of course, very thinly armored, large citadel. That's exactly the type of target you love shooting on a Molotov. Honestly, you love shooting cruisers in general, the Molotov. DDs are of course nice, but you're not as good as dealing with DDs as, for example, Budyonny, which has much faster rate of fire, more small guns and so forth. You are excellent at cruiser hunting though, that's your thing. It's really the one thing this excels at. Almost bailing, but he showed me his side. That's all the side I needed to citadel him, and I got a Confederate from it as well. This game is turning out to be quite over, it looks like. I have the New Mexico hidden. Hoping to shoot over the hill. I guess at this close range the RX, even if I think the game might have decided to shoot the island instead of behind it, but I don't think it would have mattered because, as I said, T9 guns, that's why they are very, very flat and very, very nice. Turning towards him to angle myself, of course. Okay, he just straight up missed, I dodged it. Okay, the anti-air, as I said, nothing spectacular. This is a Zuya, a T5 CV. It looks like a bomber is coming for me. I focus targeted, and I pop my defensive AA, and I'm not really shooting down any planes. I shot down one, and he bombed me. That's pretty much it. Remember, I have defensive AA active the entire time. Now I shot down a second, and this is a Zuya. This is a T5 CV. So now I'm finally shooting down the rest of the planes, but it's of course far too late to actually be effective in any way. So, as I said earlier, the AA on the ship is a massive, massive weakness. Even with defensive AA up, you're not shooting down shit. Like, this is a T5 CV and I'm struggling this hard just against one squad that bothered going for me. So, if I think once CVs learn, like T6 CVs for example, even T5s, just with a couple squads, they can easily like wreck a Molotov, really wreck them. So that's definitely a major weakness of the ship, and I like the fact that it has some major weaknesses because the guns of course are very, very strong on it. So if CVs learn to focus it, well, then you're gonna suffer quite a bit, especially with the turn radius. As I said, 860 meters combined with weak AA makes it for a very tempting CV target. Managed to kill off the CV, now just the New Mexico, using AP since trying to go for the superstructure. AP is great if you get a broadside like this. Like in this case, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pin him and do significant damage, but you need to get non-angled armor to do it. Yeah, there you see, I went from 440 to 4k damage all of a sudden. So as long as you get flat surfaces to shoot at, then this AP is really, really nice. I notice he's fighting the DD or focusing on the DD, so I just boldly pushing closer to him, and I'm not afraid to show broadside. I need to get, you see how close I need to get to use these torps though. The torps are only 4 kilometer range, so you really have to get in the face of the battleship to actually be able to use them. Which is, once again, why you kind of struggle with battleships. It's hard, if you do these YOLO runs, you really have to go full YOLO with this ship. There's no half-assing it. They are very fast though, 65 knot torps, so they close the distance extremely quickly. Will I have time to shoot him? Will I actually get the kill? It would be nice to get the kill since it would be Kraken. Managed to score the Kraken at the very end. So, this wasn't too long of a game. I got no reward since of course this is a preview version, but ultimately 16 citadels, 165k damage, and well, you can see on the scoreboard, I got like 5 times more than their top scorer on the enemy team. Just when you get fortunate matchmaking on the ship, you just seal club. You just steep. This was a 13-minute, 34-second game, and I did 167,000 damage. So this is going to be a big-time seal clubber. As usual, I will start with the modules. There's naturally nothing to change since it's a premium. Consumable wise, of course, you use the premium repair, like you should on every single cruiser. Premium defensive AA as well. I prefer to use defensive AA over Hydro because you don't have to use premium spotting aircraft. I just do that because I like all premium consumables since I have so much money. But having a premium spotting aircraft is definitely not necessary at all. But Defensive AA, once again sketchy. You might want to use it, you might not. You make so much money that you'll easily recoup the cost anyway, since it is a premium. But at least use premium repair because of the huge difference. This is a reload time of 90 seconds, this is a reload time of 60 seconds. So the 22k is very well invested. Upgrade wise, on this one I will, okay, I'm sorry, I actually, the reason I'm doing this all again is because these premiums get removed from our accounts and then re-added again because VG fucked something up. I don't know what they did, but anyway, I'm not going to bother slotting this again since I've already tried and tested and basically made a commentary on the ship. But upgrade wise, I would use main battery modification 1, or I did use, and gunfire control system, better accuracy for main guns, as once again the main guns are very much your bread and butter. Third upgrade, I think it's kind of up to you honestly. Damage control, it's probably the best one since you're unlikely to lose the other two. But it might happen, of course. Citadels can break your engine and torps to your stern can break your steering. So honestly this upgrade slot is the least important on, or well, most up to you or up to you. This one is decent. It's a very small chance it isn't actually as big. The flooding and reduce fire it isn't actually as big as the percentages imply, but it's worth getting it anyway. I like getting this on any ship that doesn't specifically lose engine a lot or specifically lose steering a lot. Like on DDs I go usually propulsion, and there were some ships that usually lose steering a lot and I went this one, but on the Molotov I just prefer the good old damage control system for overall reduced damage. The fourth mod is of course steering gears, which is pretty much my bread and butter on all cruisers. You get 20% off from the rudder shift time. Considering it has a fairly large turning circle, getting a faster rudder shift is quite important to help alleviate the issue. Captain perks wise, first one on all cruisers, situation awareness. You have to know if you're spotted or not. You have to, you have to know it. It's very important. So absolutely this is my first perk. Second perk, expert marksman, reduces the turret traverse to a nice 20.7, which isn't too bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's definitively not bad. It's 180 seconds in 20 seconds, 180 degrees in 20 seconds is very nice. And third, superintendent. Of course there are options here. I think you could honestly, if you're making a captain just for the Molotov, vigilance would probably be the best one. The reason I use superintendent is because this is my Soviet cruiser captain, meaning this is the captain I use on my Dmitry Donskoy and the captain I will be using on my Moskva. That's why I prefer superintendent. It's really not that valuable on the Molotov though, and if you were to make a specifically Molotov only captain, then go vigilance instead, because having an additional defensive AA doesn't really matter. Whereas on something like the Dmitry Donskoy, this one gives me an additional heal and an additional radar, both which are amazing. So naturally that's why I use superintendent, but Molotov only, vigilance. Fourth perk, demolition expert. Once again, this is fantastic on all Soviet cruisers and it includes the Molotov. There's really no point going AFT because your AA, as I mentioned, is not very good. So buffing something that's terribly weak or instead strengthening something that is already a strength seems much more valuable, because using advanced firing training won't really change your AA in any way. It'll still be weak, but it will be on a larger area. Just not worth it. Don't waste your money, especially on something so situational. And fifth perk, concealment expert. Of course, you want your concealment down to a nice and comfortable 11.2 kilometers, which is really good. It's honestly a really good concealment, especially considering your range is 15.5. So definitively worth it. Anyway, and of course, I might as well add this. These two are once again optional. I usually go basics of survivability first, reduced like broken turrets and such, so I don't have to use a repair on them. But you might as well go better secondaries and better AA. My last point will be into expert loader, which I think will actually be quite good on the Molotov. But that was my Molotov commentary, and honestly, I quite like this ship, and I don't see any reason why the ship wouldn't sell well, because I mean this is a very strong ship, and it's very fun to play as well. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys later.